Hey guys, this is a Westinghouse 56-inch industrial ceiling fan, but I say that very loosely because the name of this fan is actually the Industrial Look, which to me suggests that this is not actually an industrial rated ceiling fan, but rather a residential grade ceiling fan that looks just like an industrial ceiling fan. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of just the way I understood it. I'll have to look into it a little bit deeper and determine whether these are actually rated to be industrial or commercial by Westinghouse themselves, or whoever makes this fan. I got this fan last year, along with the Westinghouse Jax ceiling fan, which is the same fan basically with the brushed nickel finish and a slightly different upper canopy because it's a remote controlled model and the canopy needs to accommodate the receiver. So I got those two fans along with the third one from a local hardware store. They were kind of having a clearance sale for the display models of ceiling fans, so I got this one for pretty cheap, and it's in pretty good shape. A little bit of scuffing on the blades and on the bottom of the motor, but I try to clean them up a little bit. I think I need to go over the blades one more time because the upper side of it's still a little bit dusty, but really nothing too bad. No box, of course, no box, no manual, but hey, for the price I paid for this was plenty a good deal. Now this fan, in the fan collectors community, are known to have a pretty bad reputation, and I think it's mainly because this is kind of put into the industrial ceiling fan category, even though it may not be, and compared to most other industrial ceiling fans it really doesn't perform all that well. And some examples, like competitors that come to my mind, are like the Banville, bronze, silver, gold lines, and the Can Arms, and all of the vintage, Dayton, Union, and all those other brands that come from SMC and all that. So relative to those, which, to be honest, I have not really tested any of them personally, but from what I've seen, this is inferior actually by quite a large margin. So these don't have the best reputation in terms of like performance and all that, but I think these are, at least they're built quite well actually. All of the materials are pretty solid. The finish of the paint, it's really nice, and it does actually appear to be relatively serviceable too. If you ever need to repair the bearings, or replace the bearings rather, you can undo the screws and pop the shells apart without much fuss, which is sometimes a problem on certain ceiling fans. They're like stamped together and pressed in a way that's kind of difficult to disassemble, but for this one it seems to be pretty straightforward. So I guess, but it depends what your concerns are, but I do agree that in the performance department this fan does lack quite a bit. Alright, here it is up close, and I just realized that this is the first longer video that I'm filming in this room, because prior to this the only videos that I filmed in here were the shorter clips for, the fan collection montage and National Ceiling Fan Day videos. So this is kind of interesting. I'm still trying to figure out the whole lighting situation. Just got a bulb there and a LED bar sitting on the floor, so it's not ideal, so I'll try to optimize something for the future. But anyways, this will do for this first video. So there's the motor, stamped steel housing there. It looks a lot like the Banville or Envirofan Gold Line motors. Kind of that low profile dome design. The blades look a lot like the Dayton ceiling fans. Flat and no curved tip, of course. And a furnace just turned off, so that's good for us. It's a little bit quieter in here now. So you might have noticed that this fan has, or the blades have, rolled edges. So basically the material is kind of folded over onto itself. And I read somewhere that this was a safety thing for ceiling fans that are rated for 7 feet off the ground or less, and the blades had to be a certain thickness, and because this is a metal bladed ceiling fan, the material itself is relatively thin, and this is steel, so to meet the regulation they just simply folded the edges over, and now the blades are thicker by quite a bit. And it also adds quite a bit of structural rigidity to the fan because the blades are super rigid. It doesn't flex that much. A little bit, but not a whole lot. I do like that they added a little Westinghouse emblem at the top of the canopy. It's a nice little touch. Now this has a ball-end socket mounting system, which is kind of unusual for a supposedly an industrial ceiling fan. Typically they come with the J-hook grommet mount. Let's check out some of the information. Bunch of quality control stickers, which I guess is a good sign. For controls, I've got a can-arm variable speed control. I believe this is a model MC3, if I recall correctly. It's like their base model control. No forward reverse switch. I think the maximum rating is 3 amps. So variable speed control for this one. It does make the fan run a little bit noisier, especially when it's on any other speed but high. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of these solid state controls. So without further ado, let's go ahead and power it up. So we'll start it up first on its lowest speed on the solid state control. So it does have that signature buzz, which you pretty much expect from all variable speed controllers. I could probably adjust the trim potentiometer to bring the low speed down further, but I don't really have the time to do that now. So it does have a pretty fast low speed. But to be honest, this buzzing sound isn't all that irritating because it's a very consistent buzz. I've noticed that with some ceiling fans, when you put it on a solid state control, the buzz is very cyclic, so it goes like rare, rather than a constant hum like this one. Now those would be pretty annoying, but this one, it's honestly not that bad. It's not that loud either, so if this was used in a residential setting, in like a living room or something, I honestly wouldn't be too bothered by it. Although I would probably go for a capacitor-based controller instead. So at this speed it's not moving a ton of air. It does stir up a little breeze, but nothing too useful. And also one thing to note is that this fan is mounted inside of a basement storage room, and we've got a lot of stuff in here, so that probably does restrict quite a bit of air. So I'm actually interested in testing this fan in the basement bedroom where it's more of an open space, and that might actually increase the airflow. Because above this fan there's quite a bit of, pipes and wires and ducting running through. So it's probably a little bit restricted in this room. So now we'll turn it up about quarter way up from low. So I'll treat this as if this is a 4-speed fan. So it's picking up speed. So at this point you can start hearing the blades kind of whipping through the air. Now bringing back what my thoughts were on this fan being compared to industrial ceiling fans, true industrial ceiling fans, I think it's a little bit unfair, especially if this fan actually is a residential grade ceiling fan. So if I were to compare this fan to residential grade ceiling fans, this is actually a pretty darn good performer. I think relative to, typical ceiling fans you find at big box stores, this does feel superior in terms of performance. It'd be interesting to compare this fan to a Hunter Original, which is one of the most powerful traditional style ceiling fans out there. Maybe someday. Alright, I'll turn it up a little bit more. This is about halfway up from low. So this is where things get actually a little bit useful. Alright, so I might as well just go to full speed now. So here it is. So the buzz disappears. And we are at full blast. It's a very well balanced fan, I will have to give it that. There's not even a hint of wobble on this fan. It spins like a top. So to sum everything up, I would say your thoughts on this fan would depend heavily on your expectations. If you're going into this thinking this will be like some EnviroFan Gold line, you will surely be disappointed, because this fan, I think the speed it's the main limiting factor, because the top speed on this one is I think around 200 RPM, which is pretty slow for anything that's rated to be industrial. Typical industrial ceiling fans go closer to 300 RPMs, if not more. So I bet you if this fan spun a lot faster, it would move quite a bit of air. But at this speed, it's just not the best air mover. So if you compare this fan to most industrial ceiling fans, you'd probably be disappointed, but comparing this fan to most residential grade ceiling fans, you might be pretty impressed. Now, I personally went into this thinking that this was like an industrial ceiling fan, but I looked into it and realized that maybe this isn't, so I kind of thought that this would be somewhere in between, and that's kind of what I expected. So I wasn't really disappointed by this, but at the same time I wasn't, surprised or impressed by it either, so it was just what I expected. So my personal thoughts on this, it's not a bad fan. It's built quite well. Performance is about what I expected. Not super powerful, but in a residential grade setting, this is gonna move some decent amount of air. And also, I like the sound this fan produces. It's a very consistent, smooth, deep, kind of helicopter type sound. Some industrial ceiling fans tend to have a very high-pitched whizzing sound as the thin blades kind of chop through the air in a very irregular pattern, especially like the EnviroFan bronze lines and some lower end ceiling fans, which to my ears it's not that pleasant, but this one I could probably listen to it all day, and it's very soothing. It's almost got a nice white noise to it. So overall, this fan is about what I expected. It's not bad, I don't think. But I guess, yeah, if you do compare this to an actual industrial ceiling fan, you would surely be disappointed. And that's another thing. I've never tested another industrial ceiling fan before, at least in this size category, so I have no real reference to what an actual industrial grade ceiling fan should feel like when you're standing underneath it. So, anyways, let's go ahead and shut this down. I'll let this coast down. It's got pretty good bearings. Well, obviously it's pretty much brand new. So we'll give it a minute. Or two. Or maybe 3 or 4. We'll see how long it takes. I just realized that the upper canopy is sitting kind of crooked. I should probably fix that, but at the same time I'm probably going to take this fan down soon and put something else up. Do. I guess those heavy steel blades keep the fan going. Lots of momentum. Sometimes I wonder if anybody actually watches the entire spin down in like actual real-time speed. Because as the cameraman behind the camera, this is a little boring. I'm just kind of tapping my feet and crossing my arms like, come on fan, slow down. Almost there. And there we have it. Alright guys, well that is the Westinghouse, I forget the year, I think this was made in 2019 or 2020, somewhere along there. A Westinghouse Industrial Look pseudo-industrial ceiling fan. Not a bad fan at all. I think it's alright, and I'll probably keep it around for quite a long time. We'll find some use for it. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video, so thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!